think my dog's a Democrat, and it breaks my heart to have to say an ugly thing like that. But there's a big old pile of evidence that all points towards the fact my dog might be a Democrat. I pay for all his health care, and I buy everything he eats. I provide him with a place to live just to keep him off the streets. But he just acts like he's entitled, even tried to unionize the cat. Yeah, I think my dog's a Democrat. He chewed up the Constitution that I keep on display, and every time Benghazi's on TV, he looks the other way.
What difference at this point does it make?
I know he's a liberal, even if he won't admit it. He pooped on my living room rug and tried to tell me George Bush did it. He ain't got no papers, and what really gets my goat is if he could find a ride to town, well, I know they'd let him vote. Well, sure, we've had some good times, and he's been fun to have around. But if he ever barks about my right to bear arms, I'm gonna have him put down.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
I pay for all his health care, and I buy everything he eats. I provide him with a place to live just to keep him off the streets. You'd have to be a socialist to ever act like that. So my dog must be a Democrat. His behavior has been hinting that his mom might be Mrs. Clinton. Yeah, I think my dog's a spread the wealth, government health, flea-bitten Democrat. Dang it.
Well, I think I've got a Republican cat. It breaks my heart to say an ugly thing like that. But there's a litter box of evidence that all points to the fact I've got a Republican cat. And Santa proves it's liberal, that's a fact. And all my friends elect them Democrats. But I can't talk to my friends without holding something back. I've got a Republican cat. She wants to build a wall to keep that dumb dog out. And if he ain't got papers, he's leaving, there's no doubt. And just to get into his head. She went and pooped on his bed. I got a Republican cat. She's for the new aristocracy. Thinks climate change is a liberal fantasy. She's a proud member of the NRA, sharpens her claws every day. I got a Republican cat. She walks on me as though I wasn't there. Treats me like the maid with the tail high in the air. Yeah, she thinks she's better than me, but she hides when Hillary's on TV. I got a Republican cat. Oh Lord, I got a Republican cat.
What we have here is a failure to communicate.
'Temperatures rising and the whole world uniting against us and the things that we've done. With Iraq flattened like downtown Manhattan, it's the end of our time in the sun. The banks are imploding, Afghans are exploding, the debt rises higher each day. But with crazy distortions and logic contortions, blame it all on Obama, some say. Well, peak oils are coming, can't keep our cars running, and our public schools are a joke. Detroit's a ghost town, the factories closed down, American industry's broke. Take money from China so we can all live finer while they torture folks in plain sight. Still some folks are saying the solution is praying and moving us all to the right. You picked a fine time to be a dumbass, watching Rush Limbaugh instead of going to class. When your country needs you, you tell them that you're through, 'cause you don't like the bill they just passed. Picked a fine time to be a dumbass. In Texas, the school board just went and outlawed the teaching of Tom Jefferson. Folks with credentials from Baird School of Dental decided what they could teach to your son. The Tea Party's railing, they love Sarah Palin. She quit serving, but they don't care. They say they're not racist, just look at their faces. You'll never see a black one there. You picked a fine time to be a dumbass, watching Rush Limbaugh instead of going to class. When your country needs you, you tell them that you're through, 'cause you don't like the bills they just passed. You picked a fine time to be a dumbass. I guess being patriotic means acting moronic. If you don't like the election, you can just turn your back. You picked a fine time to be a dumb ass.
Okay, you guys gotta turn me up. Here we go. I can even hear it. That is a different, when I say turn me up, it has a different meaning than when Bill Clinton says turn me up. So I guess they did. What do you mean, no politics? That's the whole thing of this forum. But they did tell me I'm not allowed to tell political jokes, so everything I tell you is true. I really did attend the White House Christmas party back in December. And I really did go up to the president and ask him, because he makes me nervous, what does the J in Donald J. Trump stand for? You know what he told me? Genius. So I had to explain to people that all three of Donald Trump's wives are immigrants, which is proof that there are some jobs only an immigrant will take. But you know that I'm a pollster, and we're going to find out whether the camera people can catch me or not. They can, and I want to have them catch me a little bit higher up. Can you raise the camera rather than lowering it, or I can be down here if you don't. My favorite polling question of all time is that I asked 1,000 women. This really happened. I asked 1,000 women last month, would you have relations with Bill Clinton if you could? 21% said never again. So I have to start that way because I wanted to do something that's very important to me. And I cannot actually believe that you're here. I'm grateful to have been invited. This is an honor and a privilege for me. It's been a very difficult couple of weeks. But the fact that the greatest living historian is in my audience, I was raised to be like you. I am not like you. You're smart. I'm an entertainer. And I learned so much from you. And as much as the stories are really powerful, it's how you carry yourself. It's the ethics. It's the civility. It's the decency. It's the love that you show this country. You're not just a historian. You're like the patriot in chief of America. So I'm going to be on my best behavior. I'm going to try really, really hard. No? No. Okay, by applause. If the election were held today, how many of you in this room, if it's between Trump and an unnamed Democrat, who in this room votes for Donald Trump? Applaud. Who votes for the unnamed Democrat? Okay, do you notice something? The gold seats are the Trump seats, and all the Democrats are sitting back there. I'm here to liberate you. I'm not supposed to do this. But in about 2 minutes, if people aren't here by that point, I'm going to get yelled at. But I want you guys, because we're going to have an interaction. In this session, I'm going to take questions, a lot of it. And I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to give people 2 more minutes to come. But if they're not here in 2 minutes, I'm going to invite you guys to come up so that we are closer. You know what? I'm going to stand. I like this group much better than this group up here. I have always related better to the group that doesn't necessarily shower in the morning. But you should not be behind ropes. But give people 2 more minutes to come. I'll give you a notice, and then we're going to come up a lot closer because it's much easier for us to do it that way. Second, and this includes Republicans, anyone can vote on this. Would you rather have Mike Bloomberg or Bernie Sanders? Applaud if it's Bernie Sanders. There are 300 people in this room and not one person applauded. This is like Bernie Sanders' Thanksgiving Day table. I don't know if you know this. Bernie Sanders is so old it takes him an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes. He's so old, she's doing this to me. He's so old, his favorite painting is The Last Supper. If you look carefully, he's the second waiter from the left. Bernie Sanders is so old, the only time he doesn't have to pee is when he's peeing. But Joe Biden says he's a constitutional expert. He ought to be. He was in the room when they wrote the document. And you can prove that. We can't laugh at ourselves anymore. We can't tell jokes anymore. It is dangerous to do it because we are so divided and so angry. I remember I used to tell people that Bernie Sanders knocked on 50 doors. I wanted to give him credit. He knocked on 50 doors in a single day, trying to find the last undecided voters in Iowa. Hillary Clinton knocked on the same 50 doors. She was just trying to find Bill. I want you to cue up the video. I'm going to play it for you for about 4 minutes. And when the video is done, if there's still empty seats, which I can see there are, cue it up. Don't run it yet. Stop. Pause. These are the outtakes. I've been doing focus groups for HBO, ABC, CBS, and Fox. These are the outtakes, the stuff that they would not put on the air. And I'm going to just let it run. I'm not going to editorialize it. These are people like you. You will see people who look just like you, who sound just like you, and they treat each other so horribly. They won't put them on television because it's an embarrassment, and they don't think it makes these networks look good. I want you to see it because I want you to see the word that has driven me now for the last 5 years, which is the truth. We have to be willing to speak truth to power. And it's not by saying that the other side is wrong. That's the easy part. We have to be willing to tell our people, the people that we supposedly support, that they are wrong. Shouldn't speak that way. So I know in this area there are some Trump people, and I'm going to start with this statement. You still can't justify how he speaks. You can't justify how he tweets. How many of you have got kids? Raise your hands. How many of you have grandchildren? Raise your hands. How are there more people with grandchildren than kids? I thought biologically that's impossible. I need to go to one of the science sessions so you can explain to me how that works. By the way, you know what the strongest human relationship is? It's not husband-wife. It's not brother-sister. It's not cousin. It's grandparent-grandchild. You know why? They both have the same enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking at a couple of you going, no, because you want to fix the things that you got wrong. We don't. We would not allow our children to talk the way these politicians talk to each other. You would shut them in their room. If your 8th grade daughter had a coach for her soccer team that spoke the way some of these leaders speak, you'd have that coach fired, wouldn't you? I don't understand it. You can agree with the policy, but we have to behave better. So I'm going to show you the video, let it run for about, it's 18 minutes, I will destroy you. So I'm only going to show you about 4 minutes of it, and then we're going to talk about it. So now, let's roll the video.
They're fleeing their country. They're fleeing a war-torn country. They're coming in the right way because they're asking for asylum. They're asking for asylum. That is the right way.
That doesn't make a
Yeah, but I'm not worried about an asylum seeker coming in trying to kill me.
Why do you lock your door at night?
Because I don't want to get my stuff stolen.
Exactly. In regards to
I don't think
That is hypocrisy. That is hypocrisy.
But when my friends come to my door and say,
You know what? Exactly. That's right. Exactly.
Excuse me,
Right.
can I
That's
say
right.
something?
We have a responsibility to the international community.
It took 4 minutes for this to degenerate, and the group just came apart. Is this America?
No. Yes.
How many of you think this is America?
And you know why? Because because
So
the man
both
is in
sides.
charge.
No, what's right is because you think about facts.
It's nothing to do with
It's happening
that.
right now.
Can I say something?
It's happening right now.
I'm right.
I think
About emotion.
How about we have like adults that take turns instead of speaking over each other?
Horrific. It's not like nobody's going to die there if we don't do it.
We don't live
They want them dead, period. It doesn't matter where our embassy
I feel
is.
like
They will
Donald Trump didn't
attack
do it for
them.
that reason. He doesn't like either one of those
in parts of
He
Israel,
doesn't
they
like
have
them here.
playgrounds
He
in the
doesn't like
schools
them here.
underground
He doesn't
because
like
of
them
Hamas
here.
rocket
He did
attacks.
that to
They're
start a
constantly
conflict, so
attacking
they
them
can
with the
kill each
rockets.
other.
And you think an embassy
Donald
is
Trump did
that's the
nothing
only
to
thing
help
that
any
infuriates
The
them?
embassy is a symbology. How do you make peace when
Why-
somebody
why
wants to kill you? You can't make peace with somebody that all they want to do is kill you.
The reality.
And that's what Hamas, they always want to do is kill Israel and wipe Israel off the face of the earth.
Doug.
You cannot make peace with
reality
somebody
is
that will kill you.
The reality.
It's falling apart.
God said to stand with Israel.
Oh my
Listen.
God.
That would be a problem.
But did God come tell you that? He didn't tell me. But if they have a Christian president, that's what he's going to do.
The reality.
Oh, really? It's not a
Who's a Christian?
It's not a Christian. Because a Christian would not call countries shithole countries.
The
It's not a Christian.
listen, the reality of the
It's not a Christian. It's not a Christian. I'm a Christian and I'm offended that you would knock us together.
Your children are going to watch this. You think they're going to be proud? You think the American people are going to look in and say this is constructive? This makes them feel. Then why are you doing it? Why are you yelling? Why are you yelling?
This is the way that America has become broken down.
Then be the change.
That's why we're doing it.
So?
And I'm trying to do it. I try to hold intelligent conversations.
I don't hear that. I hear you
yelling at
interrupting them.
everyone. You're raising your voice and talking
Excuse
over
me, I'm talking. Thank you.
So even that.
How is that being an adult?
I'm talking still. Yes, Frank, you're looking at me.
No, because I'm looking at both of you. Both of you are doing this. She's staring at you and wants to pick a fight with you. You want to pick a fight with
I
her.
just want to speak intelligently.
But there's a difference between intelligent conversation and simply yelling.
Right there's the problem.
No, it's not.
Right there. Your attitude is the problem.
My attitude?
Yes.
I don't want somebody telling me that my schools have to have prayer. The schools have to have prayer in school.
I didn't say that.
They did not before.
There will always be prayer in school. All I said was God chooses the color of our skin. That's all I said. Now, if you don't believe
what
that,
if you don't
then
believe-
who's making the choices?
What if you don't believe in
Who's
God?
making the calls?
Don't believe in God. That's your choice. And we don't care.
Yes, you do, because you try and force it on everybody else.
No. You're making a lot of gross assumptions.
I'm not making gross assumptions.
You
I'm
are
looking
making
at
gross
Mike Pence.
assumptions.
I'm looking at Mike Pence, who signed anti-LGBT in Indiana.
So what?
I rest my case.
It all comes down to listening to what the other person has to say. Open up your ears and not your mouth and listen to what other people have to say, then weigh what's going on.
Then what do you
They're
think?
all liars. They
What do you
all
think-
lie.
Okay, then what do you think of the
Everybody says
President of
about
the
Trump
United
being
States?
aggressive and brutal and all this stuff.
But you support-
How condescending was Obama?
But
I
you-
couldn't stand to watch that guy. He just looked down on top of everybody. Trump will get down in the dirt and work with you.
So
Obama
you
would
want
never have done that.
respect. You want respect, but you have a president who takes on women, minorities, everything but white
You know what?
males.
He won the
attacks.
election. And he
didn't-
won.
He didn't get
And
the
you guys
popular
can't
vote.
handle that.
He didn't
That's
get the popular
problem.
vote.
You can't handle
Did
it.
he get the popular vote?
It doesn't make any difference. Electoral college is put in place for that simple reason.
He won by the electoral, fair and square.
This isn't even about American politics. Enough. Okay, the first one was in Orlando, Florida. The second was in Cleveland. And the third one was right nearby in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, we got a lot of spaces here. You're going to be pissed at me. I'm sorry.
Frank, I've got someone after you. The Commissioner of Baseball. You can't do it.
The Commissioner of Baseball, it gives me a bigger reason to bring people up
You know
here.
you can't do it, Frank. I've got it all organized.
Okay, they're telling me not to do it, so do this. If you can come fill in these seats back here, that allows you to move forward, but not to disrupt it. And I'm going to get chewed out now, but you promise that you move back for the other ones. But I do want you closer. And this is one of the reasons why I come out here where I don't stand at the podium, because I want to be as close to you guys as possible. My first question to you. How many of you think, and I'm going to invite 3 of you to speak, how many of you think that the president should be a role model for the country, for the nation? Raise your hands. Of course. So you say, of course. Now I want you to stand up. By the way, she said, of course, and she's telling him to get up. Can you film this? This is why there are so many divorces in America.
No divorce in this family.
She opens her mouth, and now you have to suffer through it. Okay, tell me, I don't care who you support, how should the President of the United States present herself or himself?
Well,
Speak
it
up.
represents the image of the country, so therefore it should be of the highest level to not degrade our image both at home and around the world.
Are we,
Straightforward.
now the part of a focus group is I ask questions. I always ask follow-up questions, and my job is to challenge. Get up, you're still up.
I can't get away.
No, but just remember, it's your wife's fault that this happened.
Yes, I'll go.
How long have you been married for?
43 years.
Wow, the divorce is going to be very expensive. So do we choose? I do the jokes here. Do we choose a president for what Americans want, or do we choose a president for how the world sees us? It's a very specific question. I know you can say both, but which should be a higher priority?
I think it has to be what Americans want.
How,
The American presidents, not the world presidents.
so he said it's the American president, not the world president. So my question then is, yes, you can. I don't know. Does your wife say you can sit? It's okay? You need to have a talk with her when we get out of here. I've never seen that happen before.
Oh, all the time.
All the time?
Oh, yeah.
I'm lucky I'm not married to you then. So, what do we do? Then what do we do in this situation? You want to participate?
Sure.
But you got to speak it. I'm going to stand back here so they can hear you.
I've forgotten the question.
Well, that's still better than a president who never even remembered the question in the first place. How do we seek leadership that is just and right and appropriate in a time of great pressure, at a time of great disagreement and division in this country? How should the president be responding to that division?
I think he should be ignoring it. I think he should go about his duties and be respectful and honorable.
I can't, the problem, oh, we got a mic. Okay, we're going to fix this. Here we go.
Oh, that should be live for you. Okay. I think that our president should ignore what is said about him. I think a president usually has broad enough shoulders that they can do that. And I think they ought to be respectful. And I think they ought to be someone that everyone in the country can look up to, regardless of their party. And I think we've had that before.
Do you guys agree with that? Okay, who's no? Because there is an argument against that. Who's no here? She is. You guys are, this is the greatest group of snitches I have ever seen. So you're no. What happens if the president is not given a fair shake by those who report him? You can say a lot of things about Donald Trump, but you cannot say the press has been fair to him. They did not give him a break from early on. Now, he brought it on himself. But they don't report it accurately. They have attacked him at White House press conferences. They've been rough on him. Is that appropriate? If I hand you the microphone, are you going to participate? And then you can kick your friend's ass after this is done.
Well, I don't know. What do we teach our children when they're growing up? We teach them not to lie, to be kind, to be loving. If there's somebody in the playground that doesn't have somebody, you call them over. It is from me, but I'm, 70 years old and getting toward the end of my life. So
no, don't say
it's this next generation. No, I'm not. That was a joke. No.
You've got at least 2 good years left.
There go. It's more for the next generation and what they're hearing and what they're seeing, as well as what it's doing to the country.
So I want to give someone who's pro-Trump. I want to give, because this never happens. You sure you want to do this? Yeah, I don't care. You know that everyone's going to see you because the camera's going to be on you. And by the way, there has to be a better shot of me than my ass. God, it's like...
Turn around, it'll be better.
Do I have to stand?
Yes.
Wear a mask?
Yes, you have to stand.
Okay, I'm brave. I feel like I don't always like what he says. I like what he does. I like how more people are working. He's helping the economy. I'm doing better than ever. My kids are doing better than ever. I like that he's keeping a lot of his promises. And I'm not afraid to say it, but I want you to know that every time I tell someone I like Trump, I lose a friend. And I don't think that's right either. I'm allowed to like what I like. Who is black and white? And maybe there's a president who speaks beautifully and promises things and then doesn't follow through, or does something behind people's backs.
We're going to do a little bit of this today, which is I'm going to give you a chance to be heard. I want to remind you of how bad it was. When I say to you that this president has not been treated fairly, can you switch videos, please? We put together a videotape of what the pundits and what the media said about the president just before he got elected, even up to election night. It's the other video. If you can roll this from even before day one, Trump was not treated fairly, and I'm going to show you about it.
That's not going to happen.
He's not going to be president. He is not, Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank. Okay. I guarantee it. All right, all right.
I think if he becomes the president, he'll make it great, because the States is already great.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
He will never be president of the United States.
I'll make a prediction, though, for you, and I don't really get into predictions much, but this one I'll go way out on a limb. Donald Trump will never, ever be president of the United States.
Let's be clear. Donald Trump will lose the election.
Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
This man has got some momentum.
I want you to see this, because this is when he was, but by the way, this conversation is a dangerous one to have. You're going to walk out of here and you're going to be energized on one side or the other. But I'm going to have the conversation anyway, because it has to happen. If you teach your kids to be humble and civil and decent to each other, can't you do the same with other people who disagree with you politically, even if it's something as broad as this? We have to be able to have these conversations, and if we can't have it in January of an election year, what happens when it gets to October of election year, when every word spoken is going to matter? I just wanted you to see, I'm going to continue this video in 1 second, but I wanted you to see the coverage that he was getting from people at the very beginning, even before a vote had been cast. I think we all need to step back and take a breath. And I think we need to look at ourselves. I do things differently now. I do open these presentations or these speeches with jokes, because I have to lighten the mood. If I don't, I will be miserable. Because all the anger that you all feel is directed at me. And it is a problem. We teach our kids and our grandchildren to work out conflicts, even with bullies, And yet we want to, I know, I can feel it in this room. So you saw that there. Let me roll you the other half of that tape. Keep going.
better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on. Sorry,
That said, basically, this is the beginning of the end for Trump.
The beginning of the end.
Beginning of the end?
This is probably starting of the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
Right now on our map, we have her with 323 electoral votes. Florida, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Nevada, all of these other states are in poor shape. And there's kind of a soft underbelly of some traditionally Republican states that Trump is risking losing as well.
It's going to be Hillary Clinton. You say it's going to be Clinton 322 electoral votes, Trump 216. Why can't you see the scenario where Trump wins North Carolina, Ohio, Florida, and then flips Pennsylvania, which would do it for him, or Michigan plus one other?
Trump won every one of those states.
Megan, I can see it. It's pretty plain.
Why
on the
don't you
map.
believe it?
I don't think it's likely.
But right now, looking at it, I have Hillary Clinton at 280 and Donald Trump at 258.
I have Hillary Clinton winning every swing state with the exception, I believe, of North Carolina, which I think we can call a swing state, 332 to 206.
I
started with the Obama-Romney map from 2012, and I did a little bit of flipping.
So, George, I did the states. I didn't look at the numbers ahead of time. I got to 269, 269.
Pause it. On the Sunday before, there were 19 guests on the Sunday shows, the Sunday before the Tuesday election, 19. Do you know how many of them predicted Donald Trump? Zero. Of the reporters who interviewed me, I have a very simple question to people. Of your 20 closest friends, I say this now to those who voted for Hillary Clinton. Of your 20 closest friends, how many of them were supporting Donald Trump? When I asked the reporters of the New York Times and the Washington Post, the average was 1.5. How are you supposed to report what is happening to someone when you don't even know anyone who's voting for them? And the way that the reporters were doing it out of New York and Washington is that they all took trains to Philadelphia. I saw them on the trains. They would get off the train and they would call Uber. And Uber would take them 45 minutes from the train station right into Hillary Clinton territory. She was winning all the suburbs, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, the suburbs. But if they'd gone 15 minutes further out, they would have seen the Trump signs everywhere. And that is the problem, that we only seek to affirm what we think rather than to inform it. If I asked you how many of you watch Fox News, 97% of you would have voted for Donald Trump. How many of you watch MSNBC? The only news network with more letters in its name than viewers? I told that joke on live television on Chris Matthews on MSNBC. They fired me the next day. My father was so proud of me, he bought me a car. 96% voted for Hillary Clinton. Now I've shown you two tapes. I want to tell you something about Clinton, because I'm asked this a lot, and I wanted this to be something that I never told audiences before. So here's the third thing for you. I had a conversation with one of her senior staff people, and they said, hypothetically, what would you do in this situation? Do you see her at the convention? Some of you may even have been there. She looked amazing. She gave a really good speech. And people thought that she was on her way. But she could have been truly amazing. And here's how. She's been in politics for what, 40 at the time, 40-something years? Is there any question that she could not answer? Anything that had ever been spoken to her that she couldn't handle? So her daughter delivers a very good nominating speech, her introductory speech. Hillary comes out, she goes to the center of the stage, the podium comes up and she delivers a speech. What I would have done if I were her campaign manager, because you always have to play both sides. You have to. You have to know both sides, play both sides. By the way, never, ever, ever drink a Diet Coke within 10 minutes of going on and speaking to 500 people. So it could get even worse than it is right now. I'll do it in this row so you'll be protected. So she's got a podium right in front of her. She should have done this, put her hand up and gone like this. Why? This would have been the photograph. The podium would have gone down slowly. And if she's got her hand up here, that's the photograph above the fold in the New York Times, the LA Times, the Wall Street Journal, everywhere. And the podium disappears into the floor. And then she tells everyone, look behind you. And there's a huge, it's the size of a wall. It's a teleprompter that's built into the side of the wall behind her. And she would say, turn it off. And you snap your fingers so you make a sound. And then it goes black. And everyone in the audience at this point realizes she's flying without a net. And she could do it. She's done it. She could do it. And then they would hand her a microphone like I had right here. And I'm going to do this with one of you guys. Oh, I'm holding it. That doesn't help. Who's going to be my volunteer? It's got to be someone I can reach. Okay. No, I did you already. I need another volunteer. Someone who's just going to stand up and ask me a question. Who supported Hillary Clinton and really wished she was president of the United States right now? Raise your hands. Okay, I'm going to do with you. You say no. I don't want. I want a woman. So, by the way, I really do want a woman. That's a whole nother issue. Come over here because I can't get to you. So she comes down the stairs. Now, every Democratic convention. Oh, please back away. You're scaring me. You can grab it. You can grab a seat back there. There's a chair right there. I'm going to come to you. So she comes down the stairs because this is how Democratic conventions are designed. You're supposed to feel like you can walk right up the stairs and talk to the person. I know for a fact, step once on the stairs, they point the gun at you, put your second foot on the stairs, they shoot you. But it looks accessible. So she comes down the stairs, she's holding a microphone, and she says, I don't need some Wall Street speechwriters telling me what to think. You and I have known each other for 4 decades. What do you say you and I have a conversation about the challenges facing America and the solutions that we need? And the whole place then erupts in applause. She comes down the stairs, finds someone from a delegation, I don't even know where you're from, hands them the microphone, and I say, what's your name?
Randy. And
Randy, where are you from?
Indian Wells.
What made you come 2 minutes? Let's pretend you're here in Philadelphia.
I'm in Philadelphia, yeah, Rittenhouse Square.
What made you come? What made you get on a plane and fly here? What's the issue that matters most to you and your family?
Do you want me to really say?
Yeah.
I would say...
Because it doesn't matter what she says.
Oh, okay. Pro-choice.
Pro-choice.
Guns.
And why does pro-choice matter to you?
Because I'm a woman and I think it's my right to choose what I want to do with my body.
So let me be clear. Do it.
Come on. I'm feeling it.
Because what this is meant to be is authentic. So she says that, and I make no promises. I've learned never to do that, with this one exception. I will only appoint pro-choice judges to the United States Supreme Court. You can bank on it.
Thank you.
And I was supposed to elicit applause. She could have, in that moment, broken all of those negative stereotypes about her being distant, about her not connecting. But you have to be close and you have to connect. You can't change someone's image if you are standing 30 feet away from them on a podium. You can only change that image by getting close to them and interacting with them and thanking them. And the best thing of all is someone at that point would cry within that 60 minutes that I have with them. You know that someone's going to say, I want my daughter to know that a woman can be elected president, and I will hug her. And in that hug, I will change decades of an image of being distant. In that hug, I will be hugging all the women watching across America. And you know what? She wouldn't do it. She did not have the guts to do it. So don't yell at me or yell at anyone for what happened. Because if you're not willing to be authentic, if you're not willing to lay it on the line, then how can you expect the American people to embrace you? She could have had this election. Conversely, Donald Trump said something during that convention speech that changed the dynamic as we know it. When he said, Hillary Clinton, it's all about her. Her slogan, I'm with you. Very smart for Trump to point this out. I'm the opposite. I'm with you. I will be your voice in Washington. And when he said that, he connected to millions of people who had been ignored or forgotten. I realize that most of you in this room don't like him, but most of you in this room still feel that Washington is distant, that it doesn't always listen, it doesn't seem to care. And when he said, I will be your voice, there were millions of people who said, that's what I want. I don't like him, but I want to be heard in Washington. And they were prepared to give him a chance. He should not have won that race. He was behind the whole time. And I will tell you, and I'm going to do a Q&A with you. I will tell you that after the second debate, this is the most offensive moment of the campaign for so many of you in this room, but it was what elected Donald Trump. They had been arguing over ethics and having this battle with each other. And she said to him, you're a disgrace. And he looked at her and said, you belong in jail. To many of you in this room, you were offended by that. We were doing a focus group that night for CBS News. My group burst out in applause. They could never afford to, by the way, not only would there not be these gold seats, or these silver seats, or those seats back there, my group couldn't even afford to operate the cameras. They would not even be let into this building. But when they heard him say those words, I would throw you in jail. To them, it meant he will hold Washington accountable, all of Washington. And again, I know you're offended. Many of you are offended by that. But to the swing voters in America, the idea that someone might actually hold Washington accountable makes a difference. And I went on the air with Charlie Rose, which is ironic considering what happened to him. And I said that Donald Trump is back in this race. And he killed me on live television. And I went back to the group because it's not my opinion. It's 25 average Americans, which we don't spend enough time with, 25 average Americans, and they told Charlie, finally someone speaks my language. Finally someone's willing to hold her accountable. And we know that he was behind by 10 points that day. 10 points. And that debate changed everything. So I want to be responsive to you. I've got 7 minutes to go, and then we'll cut my microphone. Please don't leave. Was it something I said? By the way, I want to thank the woman there for waving at me. The guy's just going out. He's determined to get the hell out of this room. But at least she says hello. What can I answer for you? Yes, sir, but you got to speak up. Stand up and speak up.
Frank, if Bernie's the Democratic nomination, and if Bernie's not elected the nominee of the Democratic Party, how many of that 18 to 35-year-old voter will just sit it out?
If Bernie is not the nominee, how many 18 to 35 voters will sit it out? Very smart question. You want to know who voted for Trump, who turned that election in 2016? Men, 55 to 65. Many of them voted for Bernie in the primary, not the kids. The kids stayed home. Their parents, the 55 to 65-year-old white guy, union member, had voted Democrat all their lives, switched to vote Trump because they were angry at the Democratic Party for not keeping their promises. Trump won a significant percentage of that Bernie vote. I don't think they'll stay home, and here's why. They hate Trump so much, and they're so well organized this time. We are going to have the highest turnout we have ever had. By the way, don't vote often, but vote early. If you're from Chicago, I know a lot of dead people are coming back this time. But it's really, we're going to have the longest voting lines we've had in years because everybody wants to participate. Everyone's engaged. And I think we're going to have the highest turnout that we've had in maybe 50 years. Questions? I'm going to give you the microphone. By the way, can you explain something to me? Why do people tie their sweaters like that?
I just don't want to lose it. I'm old.
Can you turn around so they can see this?
Yeah, I tied my sweater because I'm so old I'll lose the damn thing somewhere. Okay. I have a question. We listened to the group talk about the politics of the next election. I listened to you. The impeachment has never come up. Does it make any difference?
No. And the reason why impeachment doesn't matter is that there are very few, it's a good question, there are very few senators that are actually moved by this. I can think of 2 Democrats who might change their vote depending on what they hear. The senator from West Virginia and the senator from Alabama, that's it. I can think of 4 Republicans that might change the vote. The senators from Maine, Tennessee, Alaska, and Utah. And that's it. I do believe that they're going to vote for Bolton to testify, and that's going to change the dynamic. That this is going to become more interesting because it's not going to be staged anymore, and we don't know what's going to be said. I think it's a tragedy. I think our historian knows more about this than I will ever learn. But it is a tragedy that they're playing for political theater rather than playing for the decency and the respect and the honesty of this country. On both sides.
So, but essentially the impeachment doesn't make any difference.
No, the impeachment, Donald Trump has dropped 1 point, and he's raised $40 million out of impeachment. I got time for a couple more. Anyone got it? Okay, over there. Good, I'll do you, and I can actually get the microphone to you. Wow, you sound like my mom. What could defeat Donald Trump? Not anger. Not the ugliness that you often hear that's coming from some of the candidates, and particularly some of the special interest groups. What defeats him is sadness, is a sense of regret for what we've lost. Give him credit, we are a great country, except that the economy is better today. Then why are people still so anxious and afraid? We have more jobs today, but why are people feeling less secure about where they work? You acknowledge the positive, and then you ask the question. It's subtlety. And it's an appeal to one thing that grandparents cannot ignore and parents talk about every day. What is the American dream? And by the way, Lori Milken is here. I wish her husband was here. To me, the greatest thing that's going to happen is in the next couple of years when they're going to open up a museum and a center that appreciates, respects, and celebrates the American dream in Washington, D.C. I cannot wait. Please tell him that we are all very excited, and I want to be guest number 1. I get to do a plug. I want to be guest number 1 when they go through the museum. So here, I'm going to give you my wallet. I want to buy a gold seat so I can be the first one in. If you acknowledge where we are and you tell the truth, then people will be willing to listen to the back part of your statement. And the number 1 definition of the American dream isn't freedom. It's the idea that our children will have a better life than us. And that is, it's not an applause line, it's what it is. And the question you have to ask people, are our kids better off with all that's happened over the last 3 years? My wallet may be a little bit bigger, and I may be 50 years old and I'm collecting a little bit more money, but nobody thinks, with all the gun violence, all the horrible things that have happened in our schools, nobody thinks the next generation is better off. Therefore, that would be how I would present myself. By the way, I have no expectation whatsoever that the Democrats will do that because they're too angry. One more. You got it? I'll give you a microphone. Because then they're going to cut me off.
Thank you. I think you've spoken, as have others, to the issue of how in this country we defend the indefensible. However, I am wondering, as a political issue and important ones for that, why our candidates, all of them, aren't talking more about the huge national debt that we have under the current administration, and why we're not addressing climate change as a truly serious, important issue.
So the man who has done more in the U.S. Senate to address the debt than anyone else in the 6 years that he served there is sitting right behind you, Jeff Flake, who spoke before and will be speaking tomorrow. And I don't understand it because I was always a deficit hawk, and I will tell you something as a way to end this. 20 years ago, I worked on the phrase climate change because I questioned the science 20 years ago. Last year, I went before a committee of 6 Senate Democrats to tell them point blank, the earth is warming, we are doing damage, and we need to make a change. If I can change my point of view publicly, after being the guy who did this, then why can't Washington face up to the fact that if you look at the fires in California, you look at the floods on the East Coast, you look at what's happening in Miami and Florida, climate change is an issue, it's with us right now, and we need to deal with it. So I agree with you on both points. And let me end with this. The civility and decency of this country are at stake in this election, and you have to be involved in it. You cannot walk away from it. You're as responsible as anybody else. And the way you're going to fix this is with your kids and your grandkids. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor tonight. After the dinner's over and after the fun, will you please call home? Would you get your grandkids on the phone and tell them you expect more from them? I don't just want A's. I don't just want you to win your softball matches. I want you to be good people. And I want you to treat not just your friends with respect. I want you to treat your enemies as well. I want you to shake hands, listen to those who disagree with you, and learn. If you will reach out to your children and your grandchildren, there are 400 people in this room, you can make a difference yourselves. Thank you for listening. I hope you got to learn something from it. Let's have a good election year.